So in part 1, I started to discuss about the magic number of L even, or the 11, and how it correlates with the bipolar dualistic principles of the World Trade Center, the twin towers of the male and the female, the North and the South towers. And then I showed the Illuminati's bi-bull and how this dualistic principle of the polarities of their double, red and blue, black and white division that we find in the stories of the Bible. So the entire theology of the Illuminati is to divide, to cut in half and split, to separate. So that's why the story of the Bible is about the division of the waters. And of course, going back to ancient goddess Tiamat, who was split in two. And of course, that's why the Titanic, for example, was split in two. So this is the Illuminati's theology of divide and conquer, to divide and rule, the old Hegelian dialectic. And of course, America was born upon the division from Great Britain, and of course the Civil War as well, the North versus the South. And of course, it's the same story of division with the French Revolution. So it's always about the division or the divide, which is why this theology still exists today and why we have some states that are North and South. And this theology is all over the world, like North Korea versus South Korea. And of course, the biggest division of them all in the Middle East is the Israelis versus the Arabs. So this divide and conquer, or the separation, or the red and the blue, is this theology that we just can't get away from because it's everywhere, it's all around us, and everything that we know and that we can think of. I mean, that's why we have the Republicans and the Democrats, the reds and the blues. Or the products that we buy, they're always colored with that red and blue symbolism of the bipolar colors, and they're always, fighting and dueling each other, which is what the basis of gaming is all about. It's choosing which team you're going to be on, the red or the blue team. So they use this mind control of the separation or the division against us, and nobody even knows it. I mean, why do you think we have the Crips and the Bloods? Just by chance? No, because they represent the red and the blue. And of course, this is why they try to divide or divorce the family structure. Thus their obsession with the orphan. And of course their other agenda of dividing the sexes, or the male and the female, to be a homosexual or a gay couple. Or the female on female kissing, the lesbian couples. So like I said, this theology of division or the separation is all around us. And the divide and conquer is the theology behind the as above, so below. And of course, this is the name and title of a new Illuminati film called As Above, So Below. And you'll notice the movie only shows you one half, or the red half, which is the bottom half below of the top half of the blue. Thus, this entire story is about going to hell. And that's why the story takes place below the earth, underneath the earth, in the catacombs. From the order of death, or the order of the skull and bones. And of course, it's the girl, Scarlet Marlowe, who is the one that leads them to the underworld. She is the one that takes them down the rabbit hole and leads them to hell.
Stop. This is the Empire of the Dead.
These are human bones.
So like I said, she keeps leading them down the rabbit hole time and time again until they reach hell. And you'll notice that she's the one that leads them to hell. She is the female, exactly like the biblical story where they blame the goddess for corrupting mankind. So the new patriarchy worship demonizes the old goddess worship, or the matriarchy worship.
My name is Scarlet Marlowe.
And her name is Scarlet Marlowe. Scarlet is the color of blood, or the color of red. Thus, she is the Lady in Red. And of course, the color of the so-called devil is the color of the bloody red. So the scarlet is the blood red, and then Marlowe is exactly like a marsh, which is a drying up lake. A Marlowe is a drained lake. Thus, her name, Scarlet Marlowe, is describing the red, bloody lake of hell. And by the way, that's the entire meaning of the cartoon for adults and kids called South Park, which is really about the devil who is in the South, or in hell. And real quickly, 7-Eleven was actually named originally the Southland Corp of the dead corpse, or the corporation. And I'll be getting into the 7-Eleven a little later. So in a few of my films, I have explained how Hollywood has foreshadowed 9/11 before it happened in many, many films. And obviously just not, films, it's also cartoons, and of course even games. So I could go on and sit here and make a 4-hour video or more showing all of the examples of the foreshadowing of 9/11 before it even happened. And there are some other people out there who have made videos about all the references to 9/11 before it happened. But I'm gonna just go through a couple of examples here and show beyond a reasonable doubt that it's just not a coincidence. So somebody somewhere knew exactly what was about to happen. The planning, the foreshadowing, and the prior knowledge to September 11th is very clear and evident. And it's ridiculous to think that anyone can believe that a man from a cave knew all about this esoteric wisdom and then planned it on that day. It's bullshit. This esoteric wisdom is all about the Illuminati and where they come from, and the foundation and the world of the matrix that they built around us. So I encourage you to do your own investigation. I mean, look into the subject. Go watch The Lone Gunman that came out right before 9/11 happened. So it's all there, the Twin Towers, the jet flying into it, and the plan of destruction from the Illuminati. And of course it's called The Lone Gunman, but we all know that Osama bin Laden is certainly not the lone gunman. So I've actually had a few people write into me talking about how Biggie Smalls in his song where he talks about the World Trade Center blowing up is talking about the 1993 bombing and not the September 11th bombing.
Time to get paid, blow up like the World Trade.
These people have never investigated and even seen the cover of the album that B.I.G. made, Ready to Die. He's letting you know that you got to be ready to die, and you'll notice the black and white symbolism, exactly like the FEMA cover of 9/11, the black and white towers. And of course the word juice itself is talking about the word, or the power, the money. But the mind-blowing fact about the cover of Notorious B.I.G. is that it was released on Tuesday, September 13th, 1994, which is exactly 6 years, 11 months before the attacks of September 11th. Almost to the day, exactly 7 years. During the same time, we had the rap group called The Coup. And you'll notice the bombing of the buildings looks nothing like the 1993 World Trade Center, which is used for him and Biggie's excuse of the World Trade Center blowing up. And by the way, a coup is a sudden, violent, and illegal seizure of power. And I'll give you one guess when this Coup album of the World Trade Center blowing up right where the planes hit was going to be released. It was to be released in early September 2001, exactly when the World Trade Center was actually brought down. Many years ago, I did a film called 911 Escape from New York. But of course, YouTube banned it a couple of different times, so I'm unable to actually upload it. But anyway, I basically was describing how the film is all about September 11th. Jets flying through the towers, the World Trade Center, the one-eye symbolism, the crazy people of New York, and of course, the House of Orange. And the House of Orange comes from the Royal Dutch. And of course, this is exactly why the House of Orange is the Dutch ships that originally found New York. And that's why the orange color for the flag of New York and the other things that are associated with New York are orange, which is why Wall Street is orange. So anyway, check out Escape from New York, and if you watch it, you'll see that it's all about New York City, the World Trade Center, and a plane flying to it. And now you know why after September 11th that the World Trade Center area was covered with orange. And now you know why the Illuminati illuminated the World Trade Center 1 with the color of orange. And of course they also lit it with the orange and the green. And of course 7-Eleven also has the orange and the green. And by the way, notice that Biggie Smalls is also a dualistic principle. And by the way, on the music video of Juicy, Biggie Smalls is wearing the color of orange. Big orange. So remember I was talking about the juice and the power and like, you know, who holds the juice? Do you have the juice? Do you have the power? Well, when we watched the movie Trading Places, it was all about the orange juice. The House of Orange letting you know they have the juice. And for those of you that, you know, think I'm crazy talking about the House of Orange running everything, blah, blah, blah. Well, it just so happens that the House of Orange, the Royal Dutch, are the very ones who discovered New York. It was going to be called the New Amsterdam or the New England. And if you understand that Manhattan was discovered, like I am the only one that ever figured this out and discovered it, is that on September 11th in 1609, Henry Hudson sailed into the Bay of Manhattan, right where the World Trade Center stands to this very day. In fact, the first World Trade Center began in 1613. And of course, the new One World Trade Center opened in 2013. And of course, it stands 1,776 feet tall, which was the day the Bavarian Illuminati was formed. So like I said, I'm the one that discovered that Henry Hudson actually sailed into Manhattan Bay in New York on September 11th. But it's so funny because he actually sailed in on the ship that was called the Half Moon, which of course just so happens to be the very moon phase on September 11th, the two pillars of black and white, or red and blue. And of course, just like the Illuminati bull in New York, Amsterdam also has the bull. Actually, a long time ago I made a video about the attack on the Royal Dutch Queen and the guy running into the obelisk and blah blah blah. And of course the Queen was on bus 11 and it happened on Beltane. And a long time ago I actually made a video about The Dark Knight Rises, all of the orange in New York and the towers being destroyed and the Patsy, the orange-haired James, the Patsy. And they let you know it's from the House of Orange. Thus the New York Gotham House of Orange. And of course it's all about taking over the stock market, the corruption of the stock market. So if you haven't seen my video on the subject, go ahead and check it out and you'll see all the symbolism of the towers and, you know, the 911 references. And I've also shown in my videos about the House of Orange symbolism being in the Stanley Kubrick films, like the Clockwork Orange with the one-eyed symbolism of the Illuminati. And of course, Stanley Kubrick has made several Illuminati films like Full Metal Jacket and of course The Shining. And of course the expose of the Illuminati film called Eyes Wide Shut, which of course was filmed at the Rothschild's mansion that looked like the House of Orange. And of course he was sacrificed or killed right after the screening of the film. But it was the film 2001: A Space Odyssey that put him on the map. And of course it's all about the orange. And they let you know who has the orange juice, because the all-seeing one eye is the House of Orange. And of course, the black monolith or the black moon of Lilith that we found on September 11th.